TV. Namaskar. I'm Kumar Rakesh, and you are just watching Global Governance News TV. Today, we're going to talk about the Sri Lanka, about the great neighbor, old neighbor. I say the ancestral relation, long relation. And but why Sri Lanka is a deep economic crisis? What's the reason behind it? Why and what for? We have to think, and we have to just if you guys do the live update, amid protest, the government imposed 36-hour curfew across the country, and the anger against Rajpakshe handling of deepening the economic crisis in the island, nation of 22 million people, is spiraled into the violence late on Thursday. And just you see the Saturday 6 p.m. to Monday 6 a.m. How the Reuters reported, Sri Lanka President Gotabaya Rajapakse also declared nationwide public emergency late on Friday. The president invoked tough laws allowing the military to arrest and detain suspects for a long period without trial, as demonstration calling for his ouster spread across the southeastern nation. Meanwhile, Lanka IOC, the subsidiary of the Indian Oil Corporation in Sri Lanka, said Friday to supply 6,000 metric ton of the fuel to ease the power shortages. On Saturday, Indian traders said they were in the process of shipping 40,000 tons of rice of Sri Lanka, according to reports and according to Government of India sources also. And the anger against Rajpakshe handling of the deepening economic crisis in the island nation of 22 million people spiraled into violence late on Thursday. Hundreds of protests clashed with the police for several hours. Several shortages of foreign currency has left Rajpakshe government unable to pay for essential imports, including fuel, leading to debilitating power cuts lasting 13 hours. So this is a crisis, and I'll also show the local food. Just you see the photographs from Sri Lanka, how the people they gathered uh, outside the president house of Sri Lanka, and just the minute side 36 hour the curfew 10 points for this story. I'm just going to highlight the curfew has been imposed to prevent protests, and Sri Lanka will not be allowed to step out unless for essential services during the curfew. The nation of 22 million people is in the grips of worst downturn since independence, sparked by an acute lack of foreign currency to pay even the most essential imports. Diesel, the main fuel for buses and commercial vehicles, or just the diesel had been said by the government of India also, was unavailable at a station across the island, according to officials and media report, crippling public transport. Owners of private buses, with a count of two-thirds of Sri Lanka fleet, said they were already out of oil, and even skeleton services might not be possible after today. This is latest report. Indian traders have started loading 40,000 tons, as I told you, for the prompt shipments. So Sri Lanka first major food ad from the Colombo secured credit line from New Delhi. Two officials told Reuters and different agency a consignment of 40,000 metric tons of diesel from India reached Sri Lanka on Saturday. The four such assistance from New Delhi to mitigate the spike in the power cuts in island nation. Power cuts lasting for over 13 hours were imposed on Thursday, the longest cut since 1996, when a strike by the state power entity implies caused by 72 hours blackout. The Sri Lanka President Gotabaya Rajapakse declared a state of emergency on Friday, and giving sweeping powers to security forces. The country's former president Maithripala Sirisena Freedom Party has called on President Gotabaya Rajapakse to form all-party government to tide over the crisis. New Delhi CPTI reported. Mr. Rajapakse invoked the tough laws allowing the military to arrest and detain suspect of the long period without trial as demonstration, calling for his ouster spread across the island nation. The southern towns of Gal, Machara, and Morachua also saw anti-government protests, and similar demonstrations were reported in the northern and central region, all held up traffic on main roads. Sri Lanka predicament has been compounded by COVID-19 pandemic, which torpedoed tourism and remittances. Many economists also say crisis has been exacerbated by the government mismanagement and years of accumulated borrowing. So we have the expert from Sri Lanka and the youth leader, Mr. I just introduced you, Mr. Prasan Visar, the founder and president of Sri Lanka, unites and youth movement for the hope of reconciliation in Sri Lanka. Also, founder president of Global Unites, the international youth movement for transforming conflict, established and emerging movement in 13 countries across the world. These movements collectively engage nearly half a million youth across the world each year. Recently, Sri Lanka Unites was named one of the top 20 youth movements of the Commonwealth region and one of the top 8 youth movement models to follow. Prasan was recipient of Queen's Point of Light Award in 2018, awarded by Her Majesty, the Queen of England, for its exemplary voluntary service to his nation through the work of Sri Lanka Unites and Global Unites. Person completed MA in University of Notre Dame in Peace Studies and Public Policy, selected for TEDx speaker at UND and has been featured in NBC, BBC, and Al Jazeera for an innovative peace building approach. Also work part-time from our fraternity. Is TV host also for Channel 1 Sri Lanka. Nice to just know this, and host of Good Morning Sri Lanka 2019 to 12. So background is also the media. So I'll give you this is all the ingredients for the good leader for this country. We hope so. We just pray for the God, and co-host, co-producer also, and also international speaker and trainer. And he has spoken in international youth conferences, Kenya, Pakistan, India, also Australia, Uganda, Rwanda, DRC, Malaysia, Indonesia, Canada, UK, USA, and many countries. So welcome, Mr. Prasan the Visher, and in our show. So nice of you. You spare time after he's in hospital, but just for the name of the country, he has joined our show. So nice of you. We welcome Bandana Jinganji, senior journalist, more than 30 years, living in Chicago, USA. Welcome Bandanaji, and Professor Sibai Sarkar, a senior journalist from India, Bharat, 40 more than 40 years in media. So start from the person. How is the situation in Sri Lanka? How just I think you are hospitals for a reason, but why this situation arises? How this crisis?
First of all, thank you for the.
Please carry on. I think some network problem.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, please carry on.
I apologize for the limited internet now, but it's an honor to be part of the conversation. In regards to how things are going in Sri Lanka, it's a difficult time, maybe one of the most challenging times in our lifetime. Especially, we've never experienced this kind of an economic downturn and political crisis. And so it is very challenging for people to experience 13 hours of power cuts, hours of waiting in line for basic essentials, a shortage of medicine, and so on. These are things that are out of a nightmare for many Sri Lankans, and they're very concerned, very frustrated, and looking for answers and trying to hold their leaders accountable at this time. So we're hoping that the leaders of this country will listen, will allow freedom of speech, and hear the grievances of people at this time. Because it's important, because people can only be patient if they know that their leaders are listening, they have a plan.
Okay. So just how just you seen when the situation will be normal? When? Person.
You're asking when do you think the situation will be normal?
Yeah.
Well, economists say that when you hit a crisis like this, you're talking about a 5-year to a decade-long crisis. But definitely the next 2 to 3 years is going to be a tough time on an economic front. And so it's important that the government make right decisions right now and not repeat some of the mistakes of the past. So we're looking to ensure that we don't default on our payments in July. That's
okay. Okay, some network problem. So, Vandanaji, how to analyze the situation, overall situation of Sri Lanka?
Namaskar, and good morning to our viewers, and to our panelists, Prashantji, Shivaji, and to the host, Kumar Rakeshji. It's a very grimming situation. When I'm saying we are discussing that, but my heart really bleeds for the people of Sri Lanka. To be honest, what they are going through means at this point of time. But this is a very alarming situation. How the world scenario has been changing over a period of time, and like I was reading some news, and there I'm seeing how the government is behaving like dictator. I mean, for the so that is not right, because if people are into pain, people need to whom they are going to talk to. They have elected the people, and those elected officials, if they are not able to listen to them, so that is not fair. Because I can understand that situation cannot turn overnight, because but there has to be some compassion towards them. Because if you are shutting the door on them, you are saying you cannot come out, you cannot grieve, you cannot do protest, what are people going to do? I mean, like, this is going to be, what are we trying to do? There's a mistake like India did it in 1975, this kind of emergency. We were not having that situation at that time, that there was no food and stuff. But here, the basic necessities, people are crying for it. So, somewhat the mismanagement which has taken place has to be
Yeah.
proved out. I means it cannot be, because it's a beautiful nation. When we talk about, my mother has been to Sri Lanka, because it's a means like a tourism could be a very big industry there which can bring. But last 2.5 years has been tough on the whole world, and everybody has got an impact of it. And above all, now we are seeing how this is going to be impacted, because it's almost 1.5 month now, Ukraine and Russia crisis. People are, because we are so interlocked with each other, connectivity wise, like, dependency wise. And the impact, everyone is seeing it. Prashanti, you must be surprised. I just want to share with you. You think that we are living in America, because what the statements that you see and this and that, it's totally different. But a common man is suffering here also. We have never seen this kind of inflation in our. I'm living here almost 30 years. I have never seen it. This is one of the worst kind of thing. Because, so what are the international bodies been made of? Like, if they are not even seeing it, like, because they have a very big role. India has played like a decisive, like you just talk about 40,000 tons of rice and stuff. Because, if people don't have food, they will eat each other. I mean, like, that is what, like, survival is an instinct right now. That is
Yeah.
very sad to say. And I'm just means the as the news are coming, it is making you more like a in pain, to be honest. Where are we heading to? And sense should prevail, I think. Because, and people should be allowed to come out. Because when you come out, at least you share your grievances with others, like, because the pain, it cannot be eliminated overnight and within hours. But at least when you're crying, you have another shoulder to cry on. So that should not have been blocked. Over to you, Rakesh.
Okay, so nice. Just Vandana just case the situation in the Sri Lanka. How just we Professor Sivai Sarkar. How just you analyze the situation now, and whatever government of India has done and doing, that is also a nice gesture as a neighbor. Unmute yourself, Sivaji.
Yes, yes, please. You see, I think a friend from Sri Lanka has given a very brief narration about the sufferings people are having, and very rightly so, because not it was not so long ago that Sri Lanka fought a very long internecine war, and it came out after that. And since 2006, it took a decision to have investments from abroad, build up various kind of infrastructure, ports, mostly with foreign investment. So it went on investing very recklessly, save key feature was that Europe, Russia, and even America, it was a tourist destination. Large number of tourists have been pouring in, and that was one of the reasons that Lanka has been sustaining. It had large foreign currency reserves, at least enough to sustain and partly repay also. But you see, always one thing we have observed in any country, if you look at First and Second World War, the reason was again stock market crash in the US, and there also at that point of time they had gone on large investments in infrastructure. Whenever you go on that kind of situation, you remember the 1930s severe depression that led to Second World War also. So whenever you have this kind of infrastructure investment, there are always problems. Because one thing you must remember, infrastructure investments are very high, very expensive. Returns may come, may not come. You are not sure of it. Very recent instance, if you see about that infrastructure failures and the Southeast Asian tigers, they suffered a lot. That is also not so very long ago. And again, in that case also, it was basically the real estate and the infrastructure. And again, interestingly enough, the Southeast Asian banks all went first. We have seen similar situation elsewhere too. India is no exception. The Harshad Mehta scam that was there, that was also really for that kind of reasons. And there are many such scams after that in the stock market. So we have to be very cautious whenever we are investing in big ticket infrastructure.
Okay. So
you see,
always,
I'm just coming to the issue, you see.
Please.
Now, Lanka is a very small country. Its economy is small. And various global phenomenon, they want high profits and they lure the governments to go into that kind of investment where these infrastructure investors, they make huge profits. The cuts are very high. And the governments suffer, the countries suffer, but those investors don't suffer. This is the crux. And this is what the mistake Sri Lanka did. And I believe this is the mistake India is also doing. Yes, you may carry on.
Okay. So just you giving the comparative study and how just investment in infrastructure, how Professor Sivai Sarkar was saying, investment in infrastructure may create problem and are creating problem, because whatever you take in the loan, either from China, either from India, Bharat, and other country, but you expected the loan, the repayment rate was very nominal. But now the small, taken from the different sources, small loan become the huge. So the repayment policy of, do you think, this is my question to you, the repayment policy of that loan is not in order, not discipline, one, and the proper investment and the foreign reserve, both are not that up to mark and in the proper manner by the poor governance.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a very important point. And once again, I apologize for the bad connections here. We're here with no power.
No problem. Just you are here, so I am so obliged for you in the different crises. You are here and just presenting your country.
Yeah, so let me just share. That's one of the biggest challenges. When we look at Sri Lanka's external debt, we were $11 billion of external debt back in 2005 when Rajapaksa, Mahinda Rajapaksa. But then when you look at it right now, it's 51 billion US dollars of external debt. Just in the course of 15 years, over $41 billion of debt for so-called infrastructure, proper transparency, without strong measures against corruption. This has made a huge burden on the common man, and neither have these development projects really brought up the fruit that they said would bring. Many of them have been failed white elephant projects. And today, the people are paying the price for bad decisions, for loans that we couldn't bear. And that's why there's so much frustration. They trusted the leaders. They thought they would bring about development. They thought they knew what they were doing, only to find out that they were playing trial and error with the lives of the common man. And today, almost every citizen, from the baby who's born today to the oldest person, is almost $1 million rupees in debt. And when the regime first came to power in 2005, we were like 45,000 rupees in debt. Today, almost $1 million. And so these are some of the frustrations people have, and they wish there was more foresight, they wish there was more transparency, accountability, and even now they're asking for that, at least now, to begin listening to the pain of the people and start listening to intelligent, educated people to ensure that we don't make the same mistakes and recover from this dreadful crisis.
So just how you think and how they analyze the situation and condition. So I think, do you think the poor governance also the main reason for this crisis? Straight question, person.
Definitely, there has been poor governance, especially in the last 2 years. There was very clear government revenue from taxes that they took away just for an election carrot, which was against all intelligent guidance given to the government by international sources and within. And that has cost the economy almost 1 trillion rupees of income. It was
The voice is not coming now. Please,
to find new ways for the last 2 years. They continued to pay, and they knew that essential items will now be difficult to purchase as a result of these without restructuring the loans. And they put the burden time and time again on the people as opposed to make intelligent decisions proactively. And we are struggling. And at the same time, this government promised no more corruption, no more nepotism, but you have 75% of the government budget being handled by one family. There has been rampant corruption, even in the midst of this economic crisis. And they're putting the burden of their corruption along with their bad decisions once again to the people. And that's why there's frustration. And today, the country is under curfew, 13 hours of power cut, and we're locked inside our houses, and they're not supposed to talk. Sri Lanka is one of the oldest democracies in Asia, and the people are not going to remain silent. They will express themselves, and the government better listen, because the time is now to make reform.
So nice. It's time of break, and just you stay with us. And after break, we'll just meet again just to continue this talk. Welcome to the break. This Mr. Person from Sri Lanka just connecting the live. Just he is saying the corruption is also main issue. Just for
I apologize, I wasn't able to hear any of that.
Pardon? You are saying something, person? You are
I don't know
saying
if
something.
you can hear me, but I no longer can hear you.
Can you hear me?
It been some network problem, maybe. So I think Vandanaji, how just person is just taking this all the situation, just saying how the poor governance is the main reason, one, how the corruption is the second reason for this crisis, two, and how the family, one family is ruling the country, three, just like India, Bharat.
Thank you again. And actually, the population, I must say that India's people should get a salute. In 2014, they refused that one family ruling, which has been ruling India for a very long time, Bharat, and they have seen how much corruption, because in today's time, things cannot be hidden. what you do there in India on Friday, I see that on Thursday. We are living in that kind of time. And I just want to say, as Prashant was saying, as being the oldest democracy, people have to speak out. But on contrary, I always say, don't take, means violence should not be an answer, because what we burn, it is we are burning our own assets, because it is not
Exactly.
about the politicians, it is not about the prime minister or the president, because it is by the taxpayers of any nation. When we see that any protest, there is, because protest is for democracy, it is viable and it should be done, because there should not be any no for a nonsense, to be honest. And but the when I'm saying burning buses, burning trains, that will be our own loss, because we are anyway struggling. So the protest with the wisdom is always accepted, and it should be allowed also. So as he was talking about, like, a kid who's born, he is living, he's coming to this world with a very big loan, to be honest, like, somewhat somewhere has to be paid. I mean, so that is what, where I see how the number accumulates, Kumar Rakesh ji. It goes too far, it goes too far, means, like, it has never happened, it didn't happen overnight, it has happened over a period of time. So we should be very cautious, and this is my message to the people of Sri Lanka and to the global citizens. You should be very cautious whom you are electing, whom you are bringing to power. Is Are these people, the elected officials, working for themselves, or they are working for the nation that you are from? So over to you. I'm seeing a very beautiful backdrop of Prashantji.
Yeah.
He came out.
Yeah, he came
Thank you.
out from the hospital. He was inside the hospital. You're right.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
now
so
it's
much. Yeah. My
yeah.
mother is all praise for Sri Lanka, because it is been tropical. She said so much greenery. She stayed 15 days. And I had a plan to do, but I don't know, things got changed, because
So
the
nice.
Sri Lanka and we Sanatanis do have a relationship. People have to Ashok Vatika, and
Many religious tourism is there. So
absolutely.
I was just planning to go there with for the seminar and all. Well, in between, just emergency, just imposed. Professor Shivai Sarkar, just I'll take the last remark from Mr. Prasan. How just you think, and how the what is the new strategy? Just a youth leader, how just think countries come up. So before, so Shivai Sarkar, just how they raise the question, the Prasan, the issue of corruption, issue of the one family ruling, and issues of the how the crippled the, as you just raised, loan, uh, the ratio of the loan.
You see, today Sri Lanka is having 55% of inflation. Can you imagine? We are, we are virtually dwelling at 13 plus percent of inflation. And there it is
Yeah,
55%. And even after, even if you have money in pocket, you don't get the commodity. Milk is virtually not available today. I have been, I have visited Sri Lanka and really enjoyed it. People there are so nice, and if they know you are Indian, you are from India,
yeah.
they really go an extra mile to help you out. So they are Buddhist shrines, they have a ticket.
So we can
But
see
if
person
they,
was in hospital. They just coming on our TV show. How just he is so kind, just for the country. Please.
so it's a beautiful country. It has enough resources to sustain itself, but not enough resources to take the loans and loans for infrastructure. And when you take infrastructure loans, you know how infrastructure and infrastructure building is estimated. It is not corruption actually. If you go by the papers, there will not be any corruption. If you're building a small infrastructure, even the cost may be say 100 rupees, but we estimate it at 300 rupees. So 3 times is the estimation. That's a very normal global process. So one time, the actual cost that goes into investment. The other two parts go into different pockets. It doesn't matter. My friend has been saying that because of one family it is happening. No, it is happening. Even there are different families anywhere. It is happening. Infrastructure investment is always very dicey. And if you go on whole hog, as we are also doing, building up one after another road every day, morning, digging again, digging, and those kind of situations, if you do in any country, of course, no country can remain safe. What is happening actually in Sri Lanka is a lesson for India and many other developing countries. If we don't learn, South Asian tigers have suffered. 2007-8, entire Europe and US has suffered. We have taken the cut of it. Now, what is the solution for Sri Lanka? There is a 45 billion debt, not million, 45 billion debt. And this poor country will really pay out. It is taken from China, it is taken from India, and many others. It has been slightly shy of taking it from the Bretton Woods institutions because they impose certain conditions. And another aspect of Bretton Woods institutions is when you are corrupt, actually, the Bretton Woods institutions also institute a very close observation also. So that is also another reason you try to avoid IMF World Bank loans also, for that reason also. And even otherwise, IMF World Bank loans may be not very expensive in terms of interest rates, but the conditions that they impose, that we are also suffering till today, what they impose.
But one important question, Shivaji, I'll take the person also. Do you think, person, how just you feel as a youth leader in Sri Lanka, who is important for you, India, Bharat, or China? One, and how just you think just how you will come over from this crisis? Prasan, my question to you.
Okay. So I think in this context, we have to. Sri Lanka has always had a strong relationship with India. We've had a strong relationship with China and so on. But culturally and contextually, obviously, there's so much in common with the Indian culture. But when it comes to our economic and foreign policy, we have held a very independent, mutually friendly relationship with all. We are a strategic location. There's no reason for us to make enemies, and there's no reason for us to engage in a way that's harmful to anyone. But what's happened is we have put ourselves in a weak position where now we're just trying to survive, that we can't even be a good ally to anybody. Right now, it's more of a liability than trying to be an ally to anybody because we have not maintained our own internal affairs properly. But we are extremely grateful for countries at this time, saying we care for the people in the country and speaking out internationally, putting pressure to the government, saying, don't forget the cries of the people, respond to their pain, address their grievances. That's what we need because we need a democratic structure to deal with the mess that we're in. So we appreciate the international community for putting on the pressure to ensure that the government does right by the people.
Okay. So last take, Bandana ji.
And if I may be excused, thank you so much for having
just for the just 2 minutes and then we'll over now. So I also told you 10 minutes. So that kind of frame will be the complete now.
My prayers for the people of Sri Lanka, and we feel wisdom should prevail to this government, so they should be able to listen and see and do something for the people because it's still a democratic structure. Dictatorship never works. Thank you.
Yeah, that's your right. So happy Sanatan Hindu Novars today, New Year's 2079. Happy to just greetings to all, and just how just present we'll keep in touch. Hope for the best. We hope and pray our God just to come out the deep in crisis of Sri Lanka for the best. And you like leader is there, so we can just trust you and just hope Sri Lanka will come out from this crisis and come out this family political issue also. Thank you so much of you.
Be very cautious about infrastructure investments.
Yeah, yes, sir. Your concern is already noted, and our concern is already repeated also, Shivaji. Don't worry. But that is the matter of the government and proper governance, either from India, either from Sri Lanka, for any country, how they are managed, their
But
show of
they're
governance.
all under the
Thank you very much.
control of
Jai Hind,
corporates,
Jai Bharat,
and they would
and
not let
Jai.
them.